I just want to wake up every day, throw a leg over my scoot, and ride.
American Roadrunner. American Roadrunner.
Stories from the road. Whether you are a rider, wrencher, racer, or just a weekend warrior, this is the show for you.
You found us, my fellows. Welcome to the American Roadrunner Motorcycle Show, brought to you by the book American Roadrunner. And now, your host, Bob Marshall.
Welcome back, my fellows, to another American Roadrunner Motorcycle Show. It must be the end of 2020, and thank God, it's been just a crazy calendar year. Riding places, not having services available, it's been very different. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but boy, I've really learned how to pack a lunch and anything else I need everywhere I go. I used to just ride and leave dollars anywhere and everywhere. Not to be done this year. And 2021 is not looking much better. So let's all learn to pack what we need, accept that the road may not be given like it used to, but it's still ours, and all for our taking. This is episode 14, American Roadrunner Motorcycle Show. Did I mention, or have I mentioned, that the book is now available on audio? Exclusively on Audible, American Roadrunner, the book, in audio format. Enjoy it, read by yours truly, quite an adventure. Speaking of adventure, we absolutely need to get into it. Do you remember the last show I said something about a record? Da-dun, da-dun. But before that, good stuff. Let's get over Rider 1 of 2 on the West Coast at Joshua Woods. Crushed this 1K with a friend on his 2017 Harley-Davidson Lowrider S. 1,005 miles in 20 hours, 23 minutes. Great time considering all the setbacks. He writes, "My homie Wayne and I decided to do the Ride 1K in a day about a month ago. We spent a couple of weeks working on upgrades and figuring out what all would be needed for the trip. Our plan was to get to Bend, Oregon within 18 hours. Once the day came, we decided to leave at 4 a.m. from San Diego, 4:25 to be exact. It was like Christmas, and I barely slept, and Wayne said the same. So we met up and left in the dark of the night. We made pretty good time and skipped L.A. Riverside traffic. We got to Mammoth around 10:30 and kept moving. We were on pace until Wayne's fork seal blew and we had to stop at Battleborn Harley-Davidson by Reno. Battleborn was nice, and it had a bar on the inside of it. We were there for a few hours while getting his bike repaired, so with the loss of time, we decided to change routes so we could have faster miles on freeways. We shot over to Sacramento and took the 5 up to Medford, Oregon. We accidentally did 95 past a highway patrol, and luckily, he did not pull us over. We relied heavily on Waze. Way up the 5, we rode through a storm of bugs and couldn't see through the bloodbath on our visors until we found a gas station. Despite any setbacks, we kept moving and managed to hit 1,000 miles at 12:48 a.m. Well done, sir. Welcome to the gang. Let's get to Rider 2 of 2 you just heard about. This is at on the gram, Wayne_O_SD. Knocked out his 1K on his 2017 Harley-Davidson FXDLS, 1,006 miles in 20 hours, 3 minutes. He wrote, "This is something we talked about for a month, and waiting for the ride took forever. The night of, I tried to go to sleep early, but I don't think I ever fell asleep. We left San Diego at 4:24 a.m. and headed up the 15 towards Victorville, where we met the 395 and took that north. Our first main stop was Mammoth Brewery, but they were closed, which was fine. So the initial plan was to head up to State Line, Nevada, and around Tahoe and dip down to Reno and back roads to Eugene, Oregon. Things took a turn when my fork seal blew at Mono Lake. So we headed to Carson City to Battleborn Harley-Davidson, and they hooked it up. A little defeated and unsure if we were going to make it, we replanned the route and took interstates until we hit 1,000 miles. We rode west on the 80 to 5 north through an insect storm, made it to a cold and windy Medford, Oregon in 20 hours. It was a blast, well worth it, and I'm ready to do it again. Well done and welcome. New record. Let's get on over to that record. On the gram at Vong Assault. VONGASPHALT took the title for most consecutive 1,000. It's 4,000. 4K in 4 days on his quest to support our Ride 1K for MotoFam and have a great time on two wheels. 4,064 miles in 94 hours, 59 minutes to be exact. It should be noted that the previous record holder, our good friend, fellow Stampeder, Death to Traders, still holds a record, just a different one now. Most consecutive 1K chopper miles at 3K. Well done again, Mr. Pete, at D2 Traders. So, Vong Assault crushed his first leg of the Oregon to New York City trip in 15 hours, 6 minutes. This is all on his 2016 Harley-Davidson FXDLS. On Friday, September 4th, I left Portland, Oregon at 6:15 a.m. with the goal to ride 4,000 miles in 4 days and earn one of the Ride 1K in a Day records. The first day took me from Portland to Rawlins, Wyoming. I had done 2 Ride 1K before and always landed at around 19 hours, but my goal for this first day was to do it in about 15 hours, as I wanted to make sure I would get 6 or 7 hours of sleep before day 2. I lane splitted my way through most of the Portland early morning traffic and got treated to a beautiful misty sunrise in the gorge of the Columbia River. From then, I made good time through Idaho and Utah, despite lots of road work and congestion. I reached Wyoming by sunset and rode for 2 hours at night to close that first day just above 15 hours. All in all, it was a pretty good start to the trip, and I arrived in Rawlins, confident that with a bit of luck, less road work, and more throttle, I could significantly improve my time on day 2. Let's get to the second leg of Vong Assault's record of 4,000 miles in 4 days. This is day 2, 1,011 miles in 13 hours, 30 minutes, and halfway home. Day 2 was my last day in the West, and I decided to make the most of it and be more generous on the throttle. I felt surprisingly good after my first 1K and left Rawlins just before 8 a.m. to start mobbing down I-80. Before I knew it, I was deep into Nebraska and realized I was making really good time, and I had covered almost 500 miles in approximately 6 hours, 30 minutes. At that moment, it occurred to me that if I kept going, I could have a chance at coming close to the Tour de Force the Fast 9 from Portland had pulled a few weeks back when they rode 1,013 miles in 12 hours, 40 minutes. You probably have heard of these guys, but if not, check them out. Good stuff. PDX_Dyna_crew on the gram. I decided to keep going and see where I would land, with the goal of being somewhere in the high 12-hour range. Unfortunately, I clearly had not planned this and didn't realize that the GPS was taking me on Highway 2 outside of Lincoln, Nebraska, which has tons of red lights and made me lose precious time. Even more unfortunate was an encounter with law enforcement outside of Kidder, Missouri, where I was stopped doing triple digits and well above the speed limit. My French accent must have worked wonders. I got away with a ticket for expired license plate, but not speeding, and was soon on my way, despite losing 20 precious minutes on the side of the highway. At this stage, I knew I wouldn't be in the 12-hour range, so I took it a bit easier. I reached 1,000 miles in 13 hours, 22 minutes, and finished the day with 1,011 miles, 13 hours, 30 minutes. My personal best so far, and not too shabby for a second day. Not too shabby, agreed.
crawling from those pipes. That's where my pain went today. But I don't like it when you gripe about the things I'm doing. Oh, please don't you break my ball. I think I like your type. See you crawling from those pipes. That's where I chased my pain today. I don't like it when you gripe about the things I'm doing. Oh, please don't you break my heart.
Time for day 3 from Vongasalt. It's his third 1K in the 4 consecutive. His total was 4,064 miles in 94 hours, 59 minutes. This particular day, day 3, 1,013 miles in 15 hours, 5 minutes. This is all on his 2016 Harley-Davidson FX DLS. Day 3 started pretty well. I was in good spirits thanks to the good times I had done the day before, and somehow fatigue still had not really caught up with me, but I knew it was only a matter of time. I made my way down from Illinois to Tennessee and shared about 50 miles with a guy on a red road glide from California in the outskirts of Nashville, where we were both doing high speeds in the increasingly busy traffic as we came close to the city. Good rider, and as we waved to each other goodbye, I wished we would have stopped at a gas station and shared a beer. I kept going east and arrived at the entrance of the Smoky Mountains just before sunset. I was on the clock, so I didn't see much, but it is clear to me that I'll have to be back there at some point. By the time night fell, I arrived in Asheville, North Carolina, and it started to get quite cold. Adding a few layers, I kept going and made my way down to the suburbs of Charlotte before going back to South Hill, Virginia. That last leg was the first time in the trip that was really difficult. Fatigue hit me quite hard and I got very cold. With 200 miles to go, most of them in the forests of northern North Carolina, it only seemed to be getting more humid and colder while the odometer was moving at a desperate pace, even if I was doing decent speed. I finally arrived in South Hill and clocked 1,022 miles in just about 15 hours, but this time I was really exhausted, and I knew the last day to get to 4,000 miles would be a struggle. You think? Well done. Let's get to the fourth and final day of Vongasalt's 4K and 4-day ride across these United States, all in support of the Ride 1K MotoFam event. Fourth day was 1,005 miles in 19 hours, 10 minutes. To wrap it all up, day 4, finally the occasion to break the current 1K in a day record. After 3 days on the road and a rough evening the previous day, I was hoping to close these 1,000 miles quickly to go rest. I left Virginia at 10 a.m. and made pretty good time to reach the entrance of New York State in 7 hours. I stopped for a pick, and as I fired up the bike, it started to run on one cylinder only, as my fins had been slowly eating away my wire plugs for the last 15,000 miles. I rode the bike on one cylinder to Binghamton, New York, and got in touch with my friend at Gotham Speed Shop, on the gram at Gotham Speed Shop, who did not advise to keep on going for 500 miles without a fix. Due to Labor Day, all shops were closed, and I got in touch with Ramble at Ride 1K in a day to let him know I might not be able to finish, which was infuriating, so close to the goal. Then one of these can't make that shit up moments happened. Ramble realized I was about 60 miles away from him, and selfishly, he offered to pull the wire off his own bike and meet me to get me back on the road. Before I knew it, he showed up and helped me get the bike running again. We shared a beer, talked for a bit, then I went on my way as night fell to get this damn record, with 500 miles still to cover. The first 200 miles went well, But as I reached New Jersey, fatigue and cold hit me again like a wall of brick. The last 300 miles from New Jersey to Philadelphia and back to New York were a struggle of every minute to keep awake, fight the cold and the overall soreness of my upper body. But thinking of how epic the past hours have been and seeing a ton of support coming from the Instagram definitely kept me going. I arrived in New York City with 50 miles left to cover, and I did a loop around Brooklyn, watching the city at night. After a month away, I had forgotten how bad the roads were, and each bump hurt like hell. I finally arrived home with 1,005 miles on the odometer in 20 hours. Not the best time, but definitely one of my best riding days ever. Not because of the new record, but because of a new friend. Well done, sir. 4,000 miles in 4 days. With a little help from the Mr. Curtis Morgan, the Ramble at Ride 1K today. You crushed it. You killed it. You earned it. You are the new record holder. 4,000 miles, 4 days. Congratulations, Mr. Von Gasalt. Did we just mention a record? Maybe it's about time and appropriate we mention a new record. By popular demand, we are now recognizing the fastest female. That goes out to my very own on the gram at Lilac LaFleur. Miss Angel, my dear darling adopted daughter, crushed her second annual 1K, 1,001 miles in 16 hours, 11 minutes. For this one on her 2020 new Harley-Davidson Lowrider S. So, listen up, ladies. That's the time to beat 1,001 miles, 16 hours, 11 minutes. Miss Angel writes, I'm on a moto trip from Milwaukee, Wisconsin to Oceanside, California, and I decided to do the Ride 1K in a Day challenge on the first leg of my trip from Wisconsin to Colorado. I left Milwaukee at 3:03 a.m. I rode through unlit highways, hoping a deer wouldn't want to greet my bike and I with its body. Sun rose at around 5:40 a.m., and my circadian clock went off. My energy skyrocketed, and I felt more determined to get a faster time than that of my 2019 record of 17 hours and 33 minutes. I took the I-80 the majority of the time, which I didn't enjoy most of. I get paranoid riding two-lane highways with barrier-free medians because cops can scan your speed and chase after you from both sides of the highway. I'm experienced in that. Ugh. So I personally didn't want to get over 10 miles per hour of the speed limit. At each gas station, I get stares. The three weirdest questions I got were, do you have a gun on you? Isn't the motorcycle heavy for you? And what man broke your heart? Awkward as fuck. A freak accident happened where I was behind a diesel truck for some reason, needing to accelerate hard, and a lot of black smoke came out from its exhaust. Well, I rode through that smoke, and soon after, my eyes started to intensely water and burn. I couldn't keep my eyes open. I tried so hard, but it ended up blurring my vision the more I kept blinking. I was going 80 miles per hour on the I-80, and I fucking somehow was able to maneuver to the nearest exit, having to have my eyes shut for 3 or 4 seconds at a time. I took time to calm down and regain my vision. Then I was back on the road. I had trash thrown at me mid-ride. I laughed so hard because I'm trash. Once I crossed the Colorado border, I rode 20 minutes through a thunderstorm. I protected my exposed electronics and my handlebars with a Ziploc baggie zip-tied. I had a waterproof top, but no waterproof pants, so I was soaked below the hip, but dried up by the end. Hit 1,000 miles at Brush, Colorado. Yerp. All I can say, Miss Lilac LaFleur, is congratulations. You are holding the record from Wisconsin to Colorado, 1,001 miles, 16 hours, 11 minutes. For what it's worth, Dad's proud of you. Congrats. Moving forward, rider 1 of 2 at M Turner 925 on the gram knocked out his 5th annual 1K with Groms.Aaron on the gram, two of only 6 who can claim such a title. They've crushed it together each time and always in the rain. 1,006 miles in 21 hours, 33 minutes for this one on his 2007 Harley-Davidson Road King. Year number 5, he writes, "There's only so many routes you can achieve a 1K from the Mitten State, and we've done just about all of them. This year we wanted to keep it simple and quick. Mother Nature had other plans. Leading up to the ride, we expected some rain. This year was by far the most rain we've had to deal with. Riding in the rain for a solid 10 hours. My rain gear was not up to the challenge either. The day became a game of Frogger, where we would try to dodge large red storm cells on the weather radar. We did get lucky a few times and catch 100 miles here and there of sunshine and warm tips. It was just enough to keep the spirits up and us moving forward until the next downpour. We kept telling each other slow miles are still miles. This year was an absolute mental grind. Every 1K ride possesses its own set of challenges, and this year was no exception. We proved weather will not stop us. The memories made are why we do it, and why we will keep doing it. Rain or shine, adapt or die." Well done, sir. Number 5, congratulations. Let's get to rider 2 of 2 at on the gram. Groms.Aaron crushed his 5th annual 1K with Mr. M. Turner 92. It was on his 2014 Harley-Davidson Street Glide. 1,037 miles in 21 hours, 34 minutes for this one. Rain. We were expecting some rain, but didn't expect tsunami rain. By our figures, 10 hours of riding were in rain. Roughly 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., then 7 p.m. to 10:30 a.m. Red on the radar, cars hydroplaning next to us. It was wild. It was miserable. But you all know they say the best quality of fun is the fun that you look back and laugh and say, man, that sucked. We proved we're not fair weather riders. We proved that the weather can't stop us. I'd even say that only a small handful of people in the history of motorcycles have ever rode that hard through much rain and kept going. My phone is waterlogged and my cameras are all fogged up even days later. Slow miles are still miles. Wet miles are still miles. So get out and ride, because you'll make memories that you'll talk about for the rest of your life, even if it was miserable while you were doing it. Rock on, friends, and keep the rubber side down. Well written. Congratulations, gentlemen. At McNeil_Sean, another 5th annual ride, friend, and new father, crushed his 2020 1K ride in 18 hours, 18 minutes on his 2007 Harley-Davidson FXDB. Love the story here. So many of us can relate to, including myself and my growing family. Sean writes, "I've put down a few 1K rides in my time, and I prefer starting them at night. That's how this one started. 2 a.m., out in the dark and by myself with nothing but my motorcycle and my gear. I was off for my annual 1K ride. Distance riding has always been a means for me to ground myself and help show me the things that are important in my life. This ride, I wanted to have some me time, as my 1-month-old and job had been keeping me quite busy. I have a newborn at home, and since my fiance's sister had come to help with the baby, I was able to get in my annual ride. I decided to go to Reno, Nevada with the thought that I could get some me time, get a couple drinks, gamble a bit, then head back home. While crushing miles, I was getting further and further from my home and family. After only a couple 100 miles, I was out of Oregon and in California. It was cold going over Mount Shasta just before sunrise, but the mind was a way of blocking out the cold. During the ride, I was thinking a lot about my family and the recent changes that my son Henry had brought with his arrival into this world. Motorcycles have been a passion of mine for years now, and I don't anticipate that changing. What has changed is when and how I can enjoy my hobbies. Life is about balance, and at some point, as I was heading to Reno, I started to realize that I didn't need to stop for drinks and gambling. I needed to get back to my family. This gave me the motivation to hurry up and hustle to get back to Oregon. While the ride was beautiful and uneventful, it did provide me the environment to clear my head and evaluate what's important to me. This made the return home to my family after a long day of riding an exquisite experience. Well written, Mr. Sean. I know I've gotten to hang out with this man at some good Oregon runs. Righteous dude, killing it as a new dad. Congratulations, sir. Here's a good one. On the gram at Happy Chili, crushed the 1K lap route doing the same 500 miles turn and burn twice. This is smart. 1,007 miles in 23 hours, 16 minutes on his 2007 Harley-Davidson XL 1200C. When I first decided to do the 1K in a day, I knew I wanted to ride and hit the New England states. Everyone seemed to do the western states, and I rarely see anyone do it up here. 3 days before my planned route, that all went to hell. New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, NY, CT, MA, and ME all pull restrictions on RI residents, mandating 14-day quarantine periods on people entering the state. Basically, I gave up on those ideas, thinking I would wait until next year. Couldn't shake the desire, so I came up with the idea to ride to Montpelier, Vermont twice and devise a route where I didn't need to stop to refuel in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island. The last 300 miles were an absolute shit show. The 0% chance of rain turned into a 100% chance of a downpour. Riding through unfamiliar, wet, and pitch black roads, all while wearing no rain gear, was uncomfortable to say the least. On the final leg home, I was detoured onto a completely isolated road out in Massachusetts, where I was almost positive that the hills have eyes. Cannibals were out there to eat me. When I finally saw the main road in my sights, I was so excited to come out of that alive that I didn't see the massive fallen tree branch right in the middle of the road. Immediately, flashback to the MSF New Riders course from years ago. Thanks, Butch at Henderson Harley in Vegas, and remembered how to handle it. Thankfully, I seemed to get through unscathed. But the bike started to get squirrely. At mile 996, she was wobbling pretty significantly, but there was no way that I was going to get 4 miles from the finish line and fail. Limped into the gas station with zero turning ability, and finally out with 1,007 miles in 23 hours, 16 minutes, and 32 seconds. This was my first 1K in a day, but I feel that my original plan to circle the Northeast states is still out there. To anyone thinking about doing it, stop thinking and just do it. Well done, our friend from Rhode Island, totally killing it. Congratulations, welcome to the club from the northeast part of these United States of America. Another deucer, double ride, rider 1 of 2 at Low Life Moto, crushing this 1K loop with friends, 1,076 miles in 19 hours, 22 minutes on his 2020 Harley Lowrider S. We set out to be the biggest group record that quickly didn't happen, as it ended up being 3 of us. Anyways, we set out on a 10 towards Arizona and then hit the back roads to Congress, to Prescott, then to Flagstaff. Fueled up in Flagstaff and jumped on the 40 back home through the devil's asshole of 120-degree heat. Was a great experience and was great to get out and explore new roads in a different state. Well written, Mr. Low Life Moto, crushing the 1K across California over to Flagstaff and back. Congratulations. Rider 2 of 2 on the gram, resto_glide_08. Crushed this 1K loop with a few friends on his 2008 Harley-Davidson Road Glide. 1,076 miles, 19 hours, 22 minutes. Solid ride for a 1K trip. They ride. First of all, let me give you tip number 1 for the trip like this. Don't eat Chinese food drenched in sriracha the night before. You can thank me later. I went to sleep the night before expecting 6 bikes to show up. I would imagine in routine fashion for a ride like this, people back out in the last minute. But then there were 3. The honest truth is that I was waiting for someone to speak up and ask if we were really still going. No one mentioned it. We gassed up and headed out. First part of the trip was pretty smooth. We timed our ride to catch the sunrise in the Palm Springs area. Immediately, it got warm once the sun was out, and our next gas stop, most of the gear came off. From that point back home, it was jeans, long sleeves, and a vest. I'd never been up the 89 into Sedona. There were some nice twisties heading up into the mountains. Jerome, Arizona was cool to ride through. Slow moving, but cool to experience. Next came Sedona. That's the part I was most excited about and quickly became the most pissed off about. I've never ridden in monsoon-style rain, and these raindrops were nothing to mess with. My bike was spitting and sputtering in a congested one-lane road with nowhere to pull over in a hail of rain. I had to feather that clutch and throttle to keep the bike at probably 20 miles per hour. I could see blue skies ahead, and I was solely focused on just getting out of that rain. I really wanted to take in the scenery, but I was fighting to keep my bike running. We hit Flagstaff, Arizona, and straight shot back on the 40. Flagstaff was green as soon as we began to hit Needles, and Kingman, it was about 100 degrees. We quickly dried off from the rainstorm, and from there it was get home. My phone committed suicide somewhere around Kingman, Arizona, and is now resting peacefully somewhere along the 40. Got home about 11:30 and went riding the next day. Would I do it again? Without hesitation, already planning the next one. Congratulations, Mr. Restro_Glide_8 on the gram. Another group ride. Rider 1 of 2 at Gangrene_Glide knocked out this 1K loop with a friend on his 2017 Harley-Davidson Road Glide. 1,023 miles in 19 hours and 7 minutes. Looks like these guys had such a great ride they could hardly find the words to describe it. So I've put their rides together here. Had a bro down with my bro Dylan. 1,500 miles coming up next. Thanks for the challenge. Well written. Rider 2 of 2 on the gram at whiteyjustridey.sgs crushed this 1K loop with the rider above on his 2020 Harley Street Glide Special. 1,053 miles, 18 hours, and 53 minutes. They write, pain is the game, and it's no game. Congratulations on your 1K, killing it in the southeast of our country. Over on the gram at Steve Panzarella1 crushed this 1K across the Midwest with 2 others on his 2019 Harley Road Glide. 1,140 miles in 17 hours, 50 minutes. My 2 brothers-in-law and I started out at 3 a.m. from a Shell gas station near my house in Chicago, Illinois. We originally planned on going to Sturgis like we did last year, but the day before we changed the plan and decided on SD Park, Colorado. It was a long, uneventful ride down I-80 through Illinois, Iowa, and Nebraska before getting into Colorado and getting to see the Rockies. We hit 1,000 miles at 16 hours and 9 minutes, and then a bit longer until we stopped for fuel again. The ride really gave me plenty of time to sit back and think about everything going on in the world and life in general. Started the next day riding through the Rockies with a clear mind. I'm looking forward to doing this again. Absolutely, Mr. Steve. Welcome. Congrats on your 1K. Another double. Rider 1 of 2 at Rome.on.2 knocked out his 3rd annual 1K ride, this time bringing along his brother, 1,015 miles in 23 hours and 37 minutes on his 2013 Kawasaki Vulcan 900 Classic. Our 2020 ride went as well as just about everything else this year. The plan was to leave around 3 a.m. We left at 4 a.m., made it to downtown Amarillo, and my tool bag fell off. Luckily, almost hitting my brother, so he was able to find it. 20 or 30 miles out of town came the first breakdown. Caesar's Sportster was backfiring and dying. Stopped and noticed loose plug wires. Started it up and made it another 30 to Dumas, Texas, when it died again. Took some electrical tape and baling wire to tighten the wires and went on. While fueling in Raton, New Mexico, he noticed he was leaking quite a bit of oil and found some loose bolts on the heads. I have a metric bike, so we stopped at a Walmart in Trinidad to pick up some standard sockets so he could tighten it all up. At some point, his extra gas tank fell and busted his taillight. More tape and we pushed on determined. Between stalls and stops and gas every 100 miles or less ride, we made it to Silverton, Colorado, to ride the $1 million highway up to Ouray, Colorado. Fun ride, but not when you're racing the clock. All the campers doing 30, making it hard to get anywhere fast. After hours, we finally made it to Grand Junction, where we caught the I-70. The original plan was to make it to the Salt Flats and camp. But with all the breakdowns, we'd have decided to stay on I-70 till the 15 so we could cruise 90 and make up some miles. We made it to Mona, Utah for our last fueling before our 1K mark in Salt Lake City. We had just under 2 hours until we hit the 24-hour mark, so we smashed it through Salt Lake City and ended up hitting our mark some 30 miles outside of Salt Lake City on I-80 with like 30 minutes to spare. We pulled up and gassed up like a pit crew at a NASCAR race so we could print the receipts and officially end it. Went to take my pictures, realized my phone flew off somewhere in the last stretch. Thank God for iCloud, and I was able to prove this epic journey. Can't wait to do it again. Well written on the gram at Rome.on.2. Rider 2 of 2 at Squeeze It smashed his first 1K with one of our riders already familiar with the gig at Rome.on.2. Beautiful shots from both of you. Looks like a very nice ride. 1,044 miles, 23 hours, 33 minutes on his 2003 Harley-Davidson Sportster. So my brother finally talked me into doing a 1K. Oh man, did he make a mistake. We left Amarillo an hour late, and before we left, he had lost his tool bag. Luckily, I was behind him and saw and put it on my bike. We made it about another 20 miles and the wires on my coil pack shorted out. Tapped it and kept going. For like 20 more miles and she missed up again. Used some baling wire and she started right back up. Took off from there until we made it to Raton, where I had an oil along my bike, so I had to get tools, take apart my bike in a Walmart parking lot. After that, she rode half-assed decent with an occasional problem. Whole ass ran out of gas like 5 times, and even the gas can broke my taillight. My brother lost his phone somewhere in the last 100 miles to Salt Lake. But after all that, the trip has been awesome. Smashed my first 1K, and know for a fact it's not my last. Well done. Congratulations on all the mishaps. These things happen quite often. It's all part of the road.
Everybody knows I play
a new record. We got it, just submitted. Not the record, but one of many records at Ride 1K in a Day. This one goes out to our very favorite on the gram, Rancho Cucamonga. Just submitted 7 rides from earlier this year on his quest for Ride 1K in a Day every month in the year of 2020. So 13 is a new number to beat. 10 of them so far this year. 13 total. I know Mr. SD_real_estate still has some rides to submit. Maybe we'll see the battle for the belt as 2020 comes to an end. Let's get to it. This ride he did on his 2017 Harley FX DLS, bringing the new record, 13. His bike has been down 4 out of the 5 months of this year on his 3rd motor. Breaking it twice already on a 1K, but that doesn't stop him. Instead, he catches up on lost times. Here's the list. April 30th, 1,120 miles in 16 hours, 19 minutes. Just doing my thing, he writes. July 9th, 2020, 1,017 miles in 17 hours, 46 minutes. As with every trip, I take plenty of time to stop and enjoy the sights and bong tokes. Next one, July 26, 2020, 1,029 miles in 15 hours, 53 minutes. 1,152 miles in 17 hours, 33 minutes. So 2 rides in the month of July. He writes, nothing major. Let's move on. August, 1,033 miles in 17 hours, 12 minutes. More bong tokes, more miles, more sights. Rode completely around Lake Tahoe. This guy's got it going on and got a few good things figured out. Congratulations, Rancho Cucamonga. Having a blast every trip. That was the backlog. Let's get to the 3 most recent rides from Rancho Cucamonga, all in the month of September. Again, his bike's been down 4 out of the 5 months, so he's blown the motor twice on the Ride 1K. He's definitely made up for lost times this month and holds the record. Again, 13 total 1Ks, 10 this year, and he's not done. September 8th, 2020. 1,033 miles in 15 hours, 58 minutes. Best route ever, he writes. Eureka to Redding. More bong tokes and cool spots. On to the next one, September 16th, 2020. 1,056 miles in 17 hours, 6 minutes. This ride was dedicated to a fallen friend 2 years ago to the day. He would have wanted me to have a clean bike, so halfway through my 1K, I washed her down. Not sure if anyone's done that yet. More new spots, more miles, more bong tokes. Live life 100% till we ride again, Matt. Well written to Matt. Next one, September 18th, 2020, 1,002 miles, just barely making it by those 2 miles. Totally counts, though, 14 hours, 2 minutes. Murder, she wrote. I'm a much better talker than typer, but that's 10 1Ks this year, and my bike was down for 3 to 4 months this year. Always riding, never hiding, 100%. Rancho Cucamonga Craig, you're killing it. Let's just get the count out on the bells now so we got it all figured out. $13 total, 10 this year. Rancho Cucamonga Craig. Congratulations. Let's get to a triple. Rider 1 of 3. Great to see. On the gram at Cubby_798. CUBBY_798. Back to another one. They did 1,029 miles in 19 hours, 55 minutes for this one on his 2016 Harley Road King. He writes, my best friend and I did this for the first time in 2016 and have been wanting to do another one ever since. Our work schedules never gave us the time off until now. It just so happens that his job ended and my next one began and gave us a week off at the same time. He got back on Sunday and we left for the trip Wednesday. Another friend came with us for his first time. My math was a little off. We were supposed to be back home in a little under 1,100 miles, but it ended up being about 500 more than that. But all in all, it was a great ride. Congratulations on the gram, CUBBY_798. Rider 2 of 3 on the gram at MLump2008 crushed his second 1K with friends. He was riding his 2013 Harley Davidson Road Glide, 1,039 miles in 19 hours 55 minutes for this one. He writes, "It was a perfect Wednesday morning to go for a ride. My buddies and I met up at the local gas station and decided to head north. Starting in Steubenville, Ohio, we headed up through Michigan. We crossed the Mackinac Bridge, which was a sight to see in itself, traveling from Michigan into Wisconsin, rounding out our trip. We ended up staying overnight in Wisconsin to visit the Harley-Davidson Museum the next morning. After touring the museum, we headed south into Chicago, Illinois. Next, we headed east to Indiana and back home to Ohio. Traveling all of this in under 36 hours, it was the perfect ride." That would be an understatement. Looking good. Rider 3 of 3 at Claus_61814 crushed his first 1K with a few of the others as mentioned, 1,026 miles in 19 hours 56 minutes on his 2014 Harley-Davidson Street Glide. He writes, "It was my first ride of this distance and I loved every mile of it. My two friends talked me into going on this ride and I can't wait to do it again. We traveled through West Virginia, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, and Indiana." Well written. Welcome to the club. You're making it happen and rocking it the whole freaking time. In the similar area of Wisconsin, this one goes out to Jimmy Two Ball. Crushed his first 1K with us, knocking out the loop on his 2012 Harley Street Bob, 1,009 miles in 19 hours 2 minutes. He writes, "In the past, I'd done 940 miles, but ran out of daylight. So I always wanted to complete the ride 1K in a day. This year, I was going to do it on our trip to Colorado, but ended up not making the trip. After watching the weather, said 8/14/20 was going to be the day. Heading out at 5 from Muckwonago, Wisconsin, and returning at 11:30 p.m. The end was a bit of a pain, as I was short in miles and had to do a few more miles on the freeway while being dead tired. Lesson learned, and now I know what to do next time. Better routes and make sure it's well over 1,000 miles. All in all, a great experience, and so glad I did it. May try to incorporate into a bike trip next year. That's a good freaking idea, my friend from Wisconsin. Welcome to the gang." Heading back to the Midwest at Moto Mom SLP, crushed this 1K on her 2019 Harley Street Bob, 1,005 miles in 19 hours 29 minutes. This is going to be a great story. My almost 80-year-old dad and I, along with my youngest son, 13, had been planning a motorcycle trip out west, destination Hungry Horse, Montana, from Milwaukee for about the last 6 months. We were planning to just take the bikes, my dad on his and my son switching off between us as passenger. 4 days before we left, my dad decided to purchase a trailer, thinking my 13-year-old wouldn't be able to ride for that long on the back of our bikes. This is the first time I've ever trailered a bike and was not super excited about it. So the first 800 miles, ending up in Rapid City, South Dakota, my bike fell over in the trailer and the battery died. Okay, so now my bike is not going on the trailer again, ever. About 700 miles after Rapid City, South Dakota, my fork seals busted on my bike, started spewing oil all over my leg and my bike. ended up getting it fixed in Butte, Montana, putting us about a day behind schedule. We finally make it up to Hungry Horse, Montana, and ended up staying there 5 nights. A couple days before we leave, I decided maybe the trip home would be a good time to try to take a Ride 1K in a day. So I run it by my dad, and he's all for it. We get up at 4 a.m. Thursday morning, and it's about 40 degrees. I'm definitely not prepared. We ended up leaving by 5 a.m., started riding through Glacier National Park, freezing my butt off for a good couple of hours, me on my bike and my dad hauling the trailer and my son as co-pilot. The day went off without any further breakdowns or issues. Riding on the 200 through Montana was a lot of fun. Lots of hills, curves here and there, warm air, and no traffic. About an hour outside of Fargo, North Dakota, we were in an amazing lightning show that never ended until I finally hit rain once we got to Fargo. Kept checking my odometer, hoping there'd be an exit with a gas station after I hit 1,000 miles, and there was. Barnesville, Minnesota. Some kind of animal tried taking me out as I was about 2 blocks from the gas station, but I made it. 19 hours and some odd minutes later. Well done, ma'am. Welcome to the gang. This is on the gram at MotoMomSLP. 1,000 miles, killing it, crushing it. And we have reached the conclusion of this, that is, the American Roadrunner Motorcycle Show. This is Season 3, Episode 1. And it's only going to get more exciting as we are privileged to bring you road stories from that which is the Ride 1K in a Day Challenge. We got a few good guests scheduled for the near and far future. Hope you all hang on to your hats as the road stories are only going to get better. It's so exciting to share with you the Ride 1K in a Day road stories. It gives me the ability to share your story, as mine has already been shared on that which is the book known as American Roadrunner, now on Audible and performed by yours truly. Find it on Amazon or on Audible, American Roadrunner. Don't forget, check out Ride 1K in a Day at their website, Facebook, and or the old Instagram. Hope you enjoyed the extra music today, brought to you by our friends over at Goat Farm Studios. Find them on the gram, and until next time, my fellows.
American Roadrunner. American Roadrunner. American Roadrunner. American Roadrunner. All I want is a machine between my legs and open road. Show music is brought to you by Meek. The American Roadrunner Motorcycle Show is brought to you by the book American Roadrunner and is an American Roadrunner publishing production. Find us online at AmericanRoadrunnerthebook.com. Find the book on Amazon or anywhere books are sold. Keep up with author and racer Bob Marshall and all his adventures and stories from the road on Instagram and Facebook at American Roadrunner. We'll see you on the road.